Good morning, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, and evening. I know we are in different time zones. Thanks for the Feed the Future Innovation Lab on Soybean Value Chain and American Oil Chemist Society for organizing this event and inviting me to moderate this session, a new product and processes with familiar ingredients. Soybean became the world leading food and feed crop, providing more protein and vegetable oil than any other single commodity today. Soybean's versatility as a food ingredient has helped it to become the basis of new food platform for the 21st century and had its own place within our food systems. Soybean composition and physical properties lend it to being used in its whole bean form as a primary ingredient in many food and beverages. It's also unique for its amount of high protein and fat, as well as bioactive molecules such as phytosteroids, vitamins such as vitamin E, and that are critical for heart health and overall health. In fact, soybeans are an excellent example of how food systems can deliver better nutrition. At USAID, we recognize the central control for food systems in delivering positive development outcomes and have adopted a food system conceptual framework that focuses on the central outcomes of diets, income, health, and nutrition, and environmental sustainability. If we want food system to achieve outcomes around diets and nutrition, we must appreciate the scale of the problem they are facing. Undernutrition of mother, infants, and children is attributable cause of 45% of death of children under 5 years old. And those children who do survive have suboptimal cognitive and physical development, undermining their future potential. The Lancet 2013 Nutrition Series estimated that over 800,000 infants die within the first month due to fetal growth restriction, due to, in large part, very poor maternal diet. In addition, we know that only 18% of young children in low and middle income countries receive sufficient and diverse diet. These statistics underscore that we have a food system that does not ensure safe, affordable, nutritious food year-round, particularly for most marginalized population and the groups with the highest nutrient need, pregnant and lactating women and infants and young children. We also know that food systems are not delivering essential vitamins and minerals, while micronutrient deficiencies are difficult to quantify. It's estimated that 2 billion people worldwide suffer deficiencies in one or more micronutrient, and that upward of 800,000 deaths of children under the age of 5 years are due to micronutrient malnutrition. While USAID continue to focus primarily on undernutrition, we also recognize how food systems contribute to the growing burden of overweight, obesity, and non-communicable diseases and unhealthy diet. The 2018 Global Burden Disease summarizes, among all forms of malnutrition, poor dietary habit, particularly low intake of healthy food, is the leading risk factor for mortality. There is an emerging body of evidence that shows unhealthy processed food displace more nutritious food in the diet of infant and young children. So what do we need from our food system, and what can we learn from the soybeans as a critical component of food systems? Private sector actors, from smallholder farmers to traders to small and medium enterprises, to the largest multinational food and beverage companies, are critical in shaping food systems. However, the evidence for what actions and policies work best to optimize the private sector's contribution to achieve nutrition and food safety outcomes is weak, and there remain gaps in how government can create an enabling environment that nudge the private sector toward more nutritious investment. Finally, soybeans have contributed to food system as source of calories, as supplementary protein, and as complementary protein because of their good essential amino acid pattern. Furthermore, soybean protein products have made significant contributions to food system because of their functional properties, which are essential to drive benefit from the nutritional or economic enhancement they impart onto other foods. Thank you for your attention. With that, I'm super excited to learn more about soybean from our panelists. It's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker today, Dr. Kephas Nowakunda, a program leader, food, bioscience, and agribusiness program in Uganda. Dr. Nowakunda, as a researcher with the Institute of National Agriculture Research Organization of Uganda, as a leader program leader, he leads research on food quality and safety, post-harvest physiology and management, food product development and marketing. Dr. Kephas has over 20 years of experience in research and development work with expertise in food quality assessment and value chain innovation. He will be presenting about the role of National Agricultural Research Organization, incubation, and research and development facilities opportunity with NARS. Dr. Nowakunda, over to you.
Okay, thank you for that introduction, and good morning and good afternoon, as the case may be, and I'm happy to share with you about our program and the benefits that it shares with the food processors in Uganda. And Kephas Nowakunda as introduced. Just to say who we are a research program hosted by the National Agricultural Research Laboratories, which is one of the national institutes under the broader umbrella of the National Agricultural Research Organization in Uganda. And our program is mandated to do research and generate technologies in several areas of food science, ranging from food science to preservation to nutrition, storage and packaging, but also provide services to the food processors who are working in those specific areas. We are also mandated to provide incubation or agribusiness support to entrepreneurs, as I will be sharing with you later. We work in about 7 result areas, which include microbiology, working towards reducing microbial and chemical contamination in foods. We also work to reduce malnutrition among communities. We also work in product development. We are also working in packaging. And we are also supposed to establish facilities, both for research, but also for supporting the private sector who are in food processing. We also have an incubation center and therefore provide incubation services to people who are involved in food businesses. I just share with you our current focus. Currently, what is going on is that we have activities in post-harvest handling and storage, focusing on food or on food safety. And currently, we are in cereals. We are focusing on beans and soybeans, maize and maize. Then we also have activities which are aimed at improving methods for diversified use of pelagics or small fish. Then we also have a general activity which is dealing with the diversification of beans, the general bean, the utilization of the beans. Then we also have activities that are looking at the extrusion, focusing on soybean, maize, and rice. And we also have activities that are aimed at extending shelf life of roots, tube, and banana, now focusing on cassava and banana. And we are also working on developing biodegradable packaging systems. We have a biodegradable processing plant, and we have work where we are developing some biodegradable films from agricultural wastes, currently focusing on cassava. And as I said before, we also have incubation facility, and currently we are hosting 8 incubatee both starter and small scale companies at our facility. Our key infrastructure include laboratory services, which also include a complementary sensory science lab, which both serves the research and the food processing pilot plant. We have a full operational bakery. We have extrusion equipment and milling. We have capacity for fortification. We have a ribbon mixer. Then we also have capacity for research and also development in drying and roasting. And as I said before, we also have a biodegradable, an equipment that processes films from for biodegradable plastics. And we also have incubation space where we host companies and individuals who are developing their enterprises, as long as it is in the food area and it fits within our capacities. So just to show you some of the equipments within our facility, we have grain cleaners, we have dryers, we have the mills, we have extrusion, we have the mixer is there, and some packaging systems that can be used, and all these facilities are available to the private sector who are interested in working with us, as well as they serve us in our research and development activities. Now, to be specific on the types of services that we provide to the private processors, is that we help them in process development. Some entrepreneurs come here, they have the idea, they know what they want to produce, but they lack the skills in developing the process to make their produce, so we help them. We help them also in developing quality assurance systems. Through our labs, and we also assist them in product analysis, product sensory testing, which is inevitable when you are developing, or when you are basically involved in food processing, and also product branding once they have finished developing their products. Then some of the entrepreneurs and business people, both companies and individuals who come to us, want facilities. They may not be interested in support, in the technical support, but they want to access and use our facilities because our facilities are better, they are food grade, they are more efficient, and some of the processors want to use our facilities, and we allow that at an agreed fee. And in that area, therefore, we have facilities that support both individuals and companies in food processing. So our job is for our technical people to demonstrate how these machines work and how these systems work, and then also help them in processing and just making their products, because most of those people come with their formula. Then we take also the advantage to demonstrate technologies once we have those people, the technologies that are with us. Some of the people that come to us want to see what we have and probably pick a few ideas and develop their own businesses. Then we also assist in business development for those who want that kind of service. And of course, we for the product testing, most of them we always want that to be done by our teams. And as a program, we also participate in standard development. So we also help these individuals and companies, link them with the standard, with the national standards body. And since also our teams participate in standard development, so we utilize that link to help these companies and individuals to work towards getting their products satisfied. And most of them get their products satisfied through our facilities. And since for some time, they would be using our facilities until they acquire their own facilities. And also we avail space to those who need it. We avail processing area, storage space, and office space to those who need it. Some people would want, some people just come to process and go away. Yet others want to do, complete all the processes here. So we have enough space to offer to these people. But of course, we don't go beyond a certain number. We can host about 11. Our capacity has always been around 11 companies. And some of them, we work with them from their own locations, which you can call maybe virtual support. Then we also help them in marketing because of our position as a national research institute. We are linked to many other business development partners and services. So when these companies are working with us, we link them to other business development services that can help them in product branding, in marketing, and even some of them help them in direct marketing. But also at our own facility, we have teams that can help these companies to negotiate with the market, especially startups who will not have developed their marketing channels. Our teams help in that area as well. We do not provide direct funding to any of these companies, whether they are just starting or they are continuing, but we are linked to financial institutions. So we always organize meetings between startup companies that would want to access funding from these financial institutions, between them, ourselves, and the companies, and then we facilitate a discussion. And some startup companies have accessed funding through that. But for startup companies and individuals, we often give them a period of about 6 months where they can work with us using our facilities without paying. And by doing so, we also give them, and that's an indirect support. It's not direct cash, but they do that without paying for anything. They use our facilities, use our electricity, process, develop their products, So until they start, putting some of the products on the market and earning some money, we don't charge them. And that is specifically for startup companies. But as I explained before, is because of our position and the way we operate, we work with very many people. We work with farmer groups and companies that work with us, therefore access some of these, should I say, chain actors through our own operations. And therefore, farmers have, groups that work with us get that advantage because they can access not only other business development services, but also, for example, sources of inputs and publicity. For example, when we always have media coverage, we have communication experts at our institution who are employees of NARO, and all these can be accessed by these companies, and they help them to network and access their markets. But we also provide advisory and training services. We organize trainings, in most cases, quarterly meetings, where we invite industrialists, we invite actors in the supply chain of the raw materials and input suppliers, and we sit together and share the challenges in the food processing businesses and together look for solutions, but also train in food safety, in quality assurance, and food processing generally. So we also provide that, and we have a skilling program that we always offer. And this one is not paid for. We offer it freely to the people we work with. And therefore, how does one start working with us, or how does one become an incubator at our facilities? We have a which we avail and to prospective applicants. And so they fill it, and then when in that form, they tell us what they are doing or what they intend to do, how far they have gone, the kind of services they want from us. And then we assess that form. When we receive that form, we assess it vis-a-vis our capacities, because some of the applicants may ask or may be in areas that our capacities cannot fulfill. So we do an assessment. After doing an assessment, then we accept. We have a process of accepting. Then we sign a contract with a prospective incubator, and then we admit them and they start working with us. Some of them come and work with our facilities, yet others want us to serve them at their own locations, especially those who want information, who want to be trained in process development and other things, who don't want to access facilities. And I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to me and for giving me an opportunity to share what we do and how we can benefit the private processing companies and individuals in Uganda and even beyond.
Thank you so much for this very informative presentation, Dr. Nowakunda. We have a few questions from the audience. The first question, can you assist in developing or testing extruded products? Do you want to take all the questions together or one by one?
Yes, I can. The answer is yes.
The second question, do you have quantitative information on the amount of soybean processed for human food, including cooking oil and feed in Uganda annually? Does the locally produced soy meet the grain demand in the country?
Yes, I don't have the figures off head, but yes, that information is available. I can later share it, but with that information, yes, we do. And I can assure you that the demand for soybean products is extremely high. And given the malnutrition levels you know about, over 35% of the children under 5, it's first of all, it's a product that we are encouraging our communities to consume, and we see that the demand is actually increasing.
Thank you. And finally, last, I will just have one more question. Are any of your products currently in the market?
Yes, please. We have so far we have 4 products. 4 products on the market, and they are all instant extruded products, brands of maize, of soybean maize, but also soybean only, but also soybean rice. And we have the snacks and also the flours.
Thank you so much. We'll move on to our next speaker. Now we are moving to our second speaker, Dr. Francis Amagloh. Is an associate professor of food science and technology, Department of Food Science and Technology, Faculty of Agriculture, Food and Consumer Science, University of Development Studies in Ghana. He holds a Ph.D. in human nutrition and currently head the Department of Food Science and Food and Technology Department. He has a wealth of experience in human nutrition and product development. His research focuses on recipes refinement for commercial and household level products to improve nutrition and wealth creation. And currently he is a partner with the Soybean Innovation Lab Research on Human Nutrition component. He will be talking about filling the protein gap for Ghanaians, the rule for soy. Francis, over to you.
Thank you, Ahmed, for the nice introduction. And greetings from Ghana. This presentation, we're going to consider how we can address the protein gap deficiency in Ghana. So globally, we have 21% of children under 5 being stunted. If you look at the figure I have shown, you realize that in West and Central Africa, we are beyond the global, we are 33.1%. If you take the case for Ghana, nationwide is 19%. And where I work, which is the northern part of Ghana, we have 33%. So it's a big concern. Looking at the key tells you that stunting is of major concern to us. And we know protein plays a crucial role in stunting. So could it be that our children under 5 are not getting the right protein to eat? That's a question we need to address. We know that eating good sources of protein, both animal and plant sources, can help alleviate this. But what we have to note is that good animal source protein are very expensive. So we need to find alternative sources that will be cheaper. And the plant proteins is the first to consider. So we have a lot of legumes in Ghana, but I think the one that stands out based on its nutritional profile is soybean. So in this presentation, I'll give an overview of work we have done, where we have incorporated soy products to enhance their protein content. And also try to encourage Ghanaian manufacturers, most small and to large scale, to consider soybean and its other derivatives in food formulation. In so doing, we may be able to address the protein gap. I will not bore you with this. We all know how it is. But if you look at the protein, 38% of the grain, soybean grain is protein. So it's a good source of protein. And studies have shown that it's very good at the same profile as animal protein. Fortunately, it's something that can grow in Ghana. So we have other soy products. We have the soy milk, we have the grain, we have the tofu, we have the soy sauce. In Ghana, the method of preparation of soy milk has led to us focusing on another product, which I'll discuss in a later slides. So there's huge potential for the soybean in Ghana. So the first thing we did was to find an alternative complementary food, which we have named Comfa, which is a combination between orange flesh sweet potato and soybean. And then if you will be able to get a complementary food, that means the protein requirement, that means the vitamin A requirement, and also the energy value as specified in the codex. So yes, you can combine soybean and sweet potato to get a complementary food that is healthier than the existing cereal. You also have the issue of reduced aflatoxin because we don't have a lot of aflatoxin in sweet potato and neither the soybean. So this is one of the products. And we have formulations that you can do both at the household level and at the industrial level. So the household level, we can roast. If you want a floury product, you can roast your soybean, get your sweet potato into powder and use it. Just like how you have a cereal blend food at home. Or you can produce the one we all into, where you just you dice the roots and just add the soya flour to it, and you just cook the porridge. So you don't need to prepare flour. But for the industrial interests, you can get, for those familiar in Africa, you know Cerelac. You can get a Cerelac product if you use the roller dryer, or you can use the extrusion cooking to get the extrudates, which you need to grind into flour to get the Cerelac product. So we have recipes and the method that is it for you to prepare industrial base and household base. So that's one of the first products we have worked on using soy. The second one, which may not be of very significant to you if you are not in West Africa or in Africa, is the TZ. I think in East Africa, they will call it Ishima. So Ishima is traditionally prepared from 100% maize. Maize alone will not give you the required protein. Our Tuozafi from 100% maize will give you a protein content of 0.4%. But then what we have done is we have tried to enrich the TZ flour with 10%, which was acceptable to the maize flour to produce a complement, to produce a TZ product that is about 4 times as high as the one you get in 100% maize Tuozafi. So this is significant, considering the fact that TZ is eaten every day in Ghana, particularly in northern Ghana, by traditional households. So it has huge implication. Remember that we were at 0.4, but we've been able to move protein content of an indigenous product, which is widely consumed and frequently consumed, up to about 1.83%. So this is a huge mark. And then, though we did it at the household level, this is a method which is available. We are prepared to share with industries to get TZ maize flour ready. So women or households can buy from the supermarket or from the market and then reuse it to prepare this acceptable and delicious TZ. What we have also done is, as I said earlier, the method of our soy milk production leads to a generation of a very good byproduct, which is shown in the figure as okara. Okara is very high in moisture. We know that if we use about 1 kilogram of okara, 1 kilogram of soy to process the soy milk or tofu, we get about 1.4 kilogram to 1.8 kilogram of okara. So okara is very rich, and we can use it because remember earlier on we said the soy grain has a lot of protein. So if you've extracted the milk, you still have some protein in there. But okara is perishable because of its high moisture. So as I said, if you use 1 kg, you are going to get about 1.4 kg to 1.8 kg of okara because of the added water. So what they do is underutilize and they just use it for animal feed. But worrying in Ghana is the small scale holders who are producing the soy milk, they are finding it difficult on how to dispose it. So they just allow it to ferment, or they pay for people to pick it to feed the animals. But this okara is dense in protein and fiber. So it has all the attributes of becoming a functional food ingredient. So consuming okara could help address our protein and also check protein deficiency. And importantly too, it has a reduced bean flavor intensity that somehow limits the utilization of full soy flour. So okara has a huge advantage if we want to go into processing. It's because of this that we have found it very encouraging and very demanding to consider how best can we reduce the moisture content of okara to get a dry product so that it will be used as an essential food ingredient. Thankfully, UDS in collaboration with SIL, with support from ADMI, we got some small grants where we are characterizing the drying of okara to make sure we have a product that can be used for as an ingredient. We also seek to collaborate with small, medium to large scale processors to develop products suitable for Ghana and the African market using the okara. So this is some nutritional information of it. If you look at the protein content, for the dry okara, you have protein content between 15 to 33. So this, we got this from Cambly 2020, and it's a combination of several, it's a review paper. So we got other other authors giving different values. So, but this is the range we have. Look at the protein content of this dry ingredient, and look at the protein. I hope you still have the figure of the stunting rates, and particularly the 33% in northern Ghana, where this ingredient, okara, which is easily thrown away because they don't use it for anything, has a protein content that can be used to address this huge deficiency. So if you also consider the dietary fiber, it's very high. It also has soluble dietary fiber, a huge advantage as being a prebiotic product. So the okara looks very, the key to addressing our protein energy malnutrition, and also has so many attributes as a functional ingredient. So we are really going to work on it, and we seek people to come. We do further collaboration to see how we can process this okara to get this essential ingredient to add to our foods. So the first work we have done is, so we have cassava grades, and those in West Africa will know, we call it gari. So this is prepared from cassava. So you have cassava, you grate, you put a press on it, allow it to ferment for some days, and you roast it and you get gari. Gari is cheap. Everybody buys gari. I have gari at home because what happens is that's the first, it stores very well. And then because it's cheap, it's a good food secure product. And Ghanaians love gari. I know Nigerians who love gari. So what we are doing is, okay, we know gari is low in protein because it's coming from cassava. So what can we do? We did dried okara and added it to our gari formulation and then prepared the product. So we have now gari composited from 70% cassava and 30% okara. And if you look at it, our sensory read tells you that the 30% was accepted just as 100% gari. And the good news there is we will be able to increase the protein. We've increased the protein content from gari by about 8 times. Remember, in TZ, we did about four times. In gari, because we are using okara, we've done about 8 times. In the TZ, in the earlier work we did, because we added the soy flour, the bean flavor intensity, we couldn't add much. We couldn't go beyond the 10%. But with the okara, because of the reduced bean flavor intensity, we're able to add 30% okara to cassava to get a product that is 8 times higher than what is it. And this, to us, is significant. We are going to increase the protein intake for a product like gari where everybody can buy gari. So there's so much we can do with the okara. Other staple food products in Ghana, I think we are considering with the okara will still be the banku. So banku is prepared from fermented cereal, popularly maize. We have our rice balls, we have our kenke, we have fufu, and of course TZ, either from sorghum or millet or maize. So what we are considering is how much okara can we add to this product to improve their protein content. And there are other commercial products. So the top can be something that can be done at the household level, but industrially people can prepare the flour containing the okara and use for this product. Apart from even, the fufu, you can even have fufu flour containing the okara to improve their protein. So what we are going to consider, the widely used products are the cereal legume blend. So instead of using the peanuts, using the full soy, we're going to consider the use of okara to prepare complementary foods or infant cereal or breakfast cereal. And bread has become so popular in Ghana. We've done some good work by enriching the vitamin A content of bread with orange flesh. So the next stage is, yes, we'll keep the OFSP in the bread recipe, but I want to add okara to see if we can improve the protein content. Because the only disadvantage there was that the OFSP bread, yes, contains high vitamin A, but it has reduced protein content. So with okara on board, we want to investigate to see how we can add it to bread. We can use it in the manufacture of spaghetti and biscuits. The latter products have been done elsewhere. Noodles have been prepared using 5 to 10% of okara. Okara too has been incorporated up to 50% in the preparation of pasta. Okara enriched bread exists, and it improves the fiber and the protein content of bread. So these are recipes that exist, but they are not in Ghana. So these are things we want to look at and how the Ghanaian consumers will accept it, and also use in biscuit manufacture. So okara, I think, to us is the way to go to address our protein malnutrition. Not only that, the difficulty in disposal by the small to medium scale agro processors is going to be solved if we are successful in getting optimal drying conditions for okara. To conclude, so as I said, we have worked with soy in developing comfort, another is complementary food for Africa. So the comfort, we have a YouTube link to it, how it's processed. We have shared it on the sale page, so you can easily do it at the household level. We have successfully been able to add 10% soy flour to maize flour to prepare TZ flour. And the TZ is rich in protein, about 4 times. But what we are going to look at is, we couldn't go beyond the 10%. The issue is that because of the intense beanie flavor. But if we reduce or we replace soy flour and we are incorporating okara, we may be able to go beyond the 10%. Going beyond the 10% is likely to improve the protein content. But the flagship product we have now is our 30% enriched gari with okara, which is 8 times more in protein than what is there. So to conclude, we have been able to develop the comfort with soy, and it has improved protein. Comfort has better vitamin A, and its protein profile is comparable to existing Cerelac. We have been able to improve the TZ commonly eaten by indigenous by 4.5%. We have also been able to increase the protein content of cassava by almost about 6 to 6%. So that's incorporating soybean, either the soybean flour or the byproduct, which is okara, which we don't think it should have been a byproduct, maybe the product itself, because of the huge impact it has. It's likely to improve and address the protein energy deficiency. So there's so much we want to do with okara. We're still working and seeking for funding to see how we can get okara as a common food ingredient in Ghana and Africa at large. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Francis, for this very informative presentation. We have some questions from the audience. What is the biggest limitation to make industrial comfort in Ghana?
Yeah, industrial comfort, because sweet potato is high in moisture. If you want to dry the moisture and go into production, it becomes huge. It's very expensive. If you have a roller dryer, you can easily do it. And I think the main limitation is we are so much used to cereal-based complementary foods. So it's difficult making the switch. But then we have data, we have the processing method, everything is ready, where you can just use a roller dryer to get a flake, which you can easily fortify with your iron, because of course sweet potato is not high in iron. And then all the iron you need, you can't even get all from soy. So we can just use roller dryer to get a product that will go commercially acceptable as a breakfast cereal or as complementary food. But the thing too is, these existing companies they have their processing lines. So for you to change, instead of getting dryer and you need to get a roller dryer, it's difficult for people to make. But the new entrepreneurs can also come up with, let's go the comfort way to improve its availability. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a follow-up question on that. Do you have enough production or enough supply of soybeans side to use if you overcome that dryer part for the sweet potato?
Yeah, in Ghana, the production level doesn't meet our needs. We still import huge amounts of soy. So these are things we want to do when we get, donor-funded projects. The USAID is doing a fantastic work in Ghana. There's a new call. I think there's going to be another resiliency in Ghana project. There's one advancing nutrition. What we praying, I personally is, can we increase the production of soy in Ghana? Because there's huge market need. About 2 weeks ago, there was on news that we have shortage and egg prices are going to go high because we use soy in the poultry industry. But we've already run out and we are going for importation. But we have the soil that can support soil cultivation. So these are things we want to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm familiar with the limitation of soy production in Ghana and in sub-Saharan Africa. And I think our colleague at the Soybean Innovation Lab, under leadership of Dr. Goldsmith, they might have provided some ideas on how to increase the production. Another question, if possible, Francis. We at USAID, we support all sorts of course, diversified diet, including animal source protein. And as I mentioned, animal source protein could be not accessible for everyone who are malnourished. And then, of course, as a supplementary protein that could be used in order to reach diet diversity and protein nutrient requirement could come from legumes such as soybean. Yes. Did you compare the bioavailability of micronutrient if it is coming from soybean or protein, plant-based protein versus animal source protein added or not included in the ingredients in the composition of the food?
Oh, okay. So we haven't done a comparative study of all legumes, but we know in literature that soy legume is just like an egg. So it's quality protein. And the earlier studies we did on comfort compared to the cereal legume blend, we realized that the comfort had a profile that supported, the protein profile supported the growth of our animals. So we haven't done to see bioavailability of micronutrient. And as I said, we not consume soy because of its micronutrient. We're consuming soy because protein. For me, that's my focus of research. If I'm adding soy, it's not because I want iron from soy. I know there are anti-nutritional factors that may affect and processing reduces it a bit. Generally, plant sources of iron we know is low. So my main target when using soy is how can I improve the protein content, which is essential, because you need protein to repair tissues, you need protein for growth. We need protein so that our children will grow and will be at the height that is required to attain full potential in life. So my focus is, yes, soy, the quality of soy protein has already been established. Let's promote its utilization particularly for children, to make sure that this stunting that has been with us all these decades, we'll try to change it a bit. Thank you.
Thank you. And final last question, how expensive is dry okara compared with wet okara in Ghana?
The okara, we just started the drying from our office, as I said, because of the support, collaboration between SAIL and ADMI. We haven't done any cost analysis. We just imported a dryer from China, and we had one locally fabricated. We're setting up the place to do the drying. The first product, okara, we dried was using the solar dryer. So that one was not through any dryer. So we have a method for the solar drying, which we are in the harmattan now, the cold weather, less rain, low humidity. We can use it to dry okara. So that's what we are using. We use for our Gari product. So we are now going to do the analysis, the economic analysis of you drying okara in a dryer to see how much it will cost. But the cost of fresh okara is, as I said earlier, we just pick it from the manufacturers because they want to dispose it of. But I bet you, Ahmed, once they know that, hey, they are drying it and using it as an essential ingredient, they are going to place value on it. So as of now, there's no value on it. We are rather helping them to dispose them of. But once they get to know that, hey, they are using it for an essential ingredient, I bet you will get a cost to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Francis. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you. And thank you, Francis. That was really very informative presentation. Now we'll move to Dr. Emmanuel Alamu. He's an associate scientist, food sciences and technology with the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, or IITA in Nigeria, and with IITA in Busie and Dixon. Emmanuel has over 16 years of research experience and strong analytical skills in food science and nutrition, experience in carrying out nutrition-sensitive agriculture research. His research lines primarily examined the physical and bioactive characteristics of biofortified and non-biofortified crops such as soybean, maize, cowpea, cassava, yam. Retention studies on the bioactive compounds in unprocessed and processed biofortified crops and food. He has many publications in local and foreign journals. Dr. Alamu will speak to or talk about the effect of textured soy protein or TSP inclusion in the sensory characteristics and acceptability of local dishes in Nigeria. Emmanuel, over to you.
Greetings to everyone listening to me. And my presentation titled The Effect of Textured Soy Protein Inclusion on the Sensory Characteristics and Acceptability of Local Dishes in Nigeria. I'm presenting on behalf of my team. My name is Emmanuel Alamu Oladeji from IITA. The outline of presentation is just for us to answer some questions about the nutrition benefits of soybean. What are the various uses of soybean? What is TSP, textured soy protein? Then we go to actual question, that is, what is the effect of textured protein inclusion in sources, sensory and acceptability implications. Then we go to conclusions. It has been established that soybean are often not being cooked and eaten Why? Because of the long time to cook and because of the intestinal gas due to the soluble sugars that come from raw soybean. So therefore, the soybean must be processed properly before it can be used as human foods. Why it's being processed is to eliminate, destroy, or to reduce the nutritional factors. And we know that soybean is very nutritious. It has about 35 to 45% protein dry weight basis. It has two main storage proteins, which is globulins and conglycinin. These two storage proteins contain all essential amino acids. Yeah, in these pictures that we have seen, we can see that all part of the soybean, the whole soybean, if you process them, if you dehull them, and then the hull itself, we try to look at the nutritional benefit of the three parts of the soybean. We can see that the whole raw soybean and the hull and the hulls, they are nutritious in terms of protein content, the fiber content, and the oil content. There are a lot of modern soybean products which are in the market. We have soy concentrate, soy isolate, and soy protein. They are easily digested by human beings. And we have already mentioned about the essential amino acids. That means the quality of the protein is equal to that of milk, meat, and eggs. It is acceptable in almost all diets. Virtually no cholesterol in soy concentrate and isolate and protein, and it is lactose-free, in addition to lower in fat content. The consumption of soya beans has been established that it reduces some diseases, and especially its coronary heart diseases, and the diabetes, as well as it decreases the risk of cancer. It helps to kill cancer, especially the breast and the prostate cancers. For us to be able to utilize soybean, as I've mentioned before, we need to process them. So despite the nutritional benefit, we cannot consume it like other common legumes. We need to process. Why processing? We process them in order to make it safe for consumption, in order to increase the market value, as well as prolong the shelf life. Also, it is very important because if we want to use it to fortify other low protein foods, we need to process them. So we have different types of soy protein. We have soy flour, we have soy concentrate, we have isolate fiber, and isoflavones. In IITA, we have developed a lot of products. We have utilized soybean for improved health and wealth. So we have various types of products we have produced, we have made from soybean. It's either from the wet milled soybean or we turn it into flour. This is the flour, and then we fortify it with other ingredients to make this all these products. The products are listed here, and there are a lot of them. We have over 50 of those products that we have made, and then we are promoted in IITA for human consumption, for improved health, and then to make money for income. What is textured soy protein, TSP? TSP concentrates are produced from using extrusion technology. This is one of the industrial extruder we have in IITA. We use to extrude our products. The different sizes, it comes in different sizes and shapes, and they are available for different applications. In this case, application we want to talk about is using this as a meat substitute for animal protein, because we know that TSP is very economical and it has an improved taste and textural attributes. TSP possesses some incredible characteristics. They are lightweight, they are low levels of fat and sodium, they are good source of amino acid, and they have a long shelf life. They are versatile in texture and protein, and also high in fiber content. They are speed in terms of in terms of preparation, and they are available in flavor and non-flavor forms. So now, what we want to look at critically in this particular presentation is to see how we can include TSP into diet in Africa, particularly West Africa. We all know that the market of soybean products is increasing tremendously in advanced countries, but we cannot say the same in Africa, particularly West Africa, where we even have high prevalence of protein energy malnutrition, and then we have high cost of animal protein sources, which are non-affordable. This necessitates us to look for TSP as a meat substitute in order to alleviate the protein energy malnutrition. And then in order for us to incorporate TSP into diet of consumers in Africa, it depends on the ability of the tertiary shock protein to meet the sensory requirements. One thing that we need to do is a crucial step for us to determine the acceptance when it is incorporated in the diet of the people. So the objective of this particular study that we want to go through quickly is to evaluate the sensory properties of textures of proteins from different manufacturers incorporated into typical traditional Nigerian soup and sauce. What are these the sources that we are choosing? Egusi soup and stew. I want to talk more about that to explain for us to be able to understand what egusi soup is and what stew is. Egusi soup is being made from white melon seed. When it is milled into flour, then it can be used as a soup thickener. So it's accessible in West Africa, it's common, and then it's very nutritious as well. So the stew aspect of it is just no thickener, and is made up from tomatoes and pepper and the oil, and they usually add fish into it. The egusi soup, they usually add vegetables at times with it, but it serves as a thickener. So what egusi soup, they usually use it for pounded yam and eba. So I've mentioned that egusi they can have meat or fish, and then the stew, they usually consume it with stew. And then the stew also contains meat and fish. So this make pounded yam, make the egusi soup and the rice to qualify for our vehicle to promote tertiary soy protein, because people consume it with meat or fish, and also the stew, they consume it with meat or fish. Therefore, we need to replace the meat or fish in both egusi soup as well as the rice stew with TSP. We received 30 samples of TSP from University of Illinois, USA, under Soybean Innovation Laboratory project. They are of different colors, shapes, and sizes. And we group them into 3 groups based on the manufacturers. We have 6 from Harvest Innovation TSP crumbles and chunks. We have 6 samples from Wenger TSP, either concentrate or flour. But they are not really 6, they are 3 which is being duplicated. So therefore we have 3 Wenger TSP for concentrate and flour. Then we have 18 samples from ADM texture vegetable protein. So we group them based on the sizes. We have the one that are crumbles, we have the one that are chunks. So we use those that are chunks. Those that are crumbles, we use it for soup. Then we use those that are chunks, we use it for sauce, stew sauce. So as I mentioned, we have 9 TSP, coded ASP to ISP. SP is being used for egusi soup when ST is used for stew. So we have 9 samples, coded ASP to ISP. They are from 3 manufacturers. But for stew sauce, we have 18 TSP, coded AST to RST. And we have 13 ADM texture, vegetable protein, And then we have 5 harvest innovation isolate texture chunks. Therefore, there's no Wenger for steel. So we have only 2 manufacturers, TSP from 2 manufacturers for steel, but we have 3 manufacturers for egusi soup. The recipe, they are standard recipes, and these are presented as we have seen on the screen. The main difference between the steel sauce and then the egusi soup recipe is only the egusi soup. The egusi soup makes the difference between the two. So, and the type of TSP that we use to replace the meat or fish in each of the sauces. So after preparing the samples from all TSPs, 9 samples from egusi soup, we have 18 samples for stew sauces. So we have 25 trained panelists. We trained more than that, but we selected 25 that passed the test. So we have 15 females, 10 males. Then the sensory properties that of the source of the samples, we investigated her color, aroma, taste, consistency, and the overall acceptabilities. The sensory evaluation involved the 5 senses. The panelists were trained, as I've mentioned, and then the sensory evaluation was conducted in a sensory evaluation room using booths separately. It's a separate booth for each of the panelists. So the samples were served very hot, the normal way they normally serve foods, with either eba or with rice. So we use 5-pound Edoni steak. 1 is disliked very much, and 5 is liked very much. So in between 1 and 5, we have about 3 scales. Before we go to the sensory evaluation, before we use the TSP for preparation, the rehydration was done. That is, we want to test the swelling power of the TSP, because it will be one of the key physical characteristics that the consumer will consider when they want to, get the TSP for their sauce. What we did is the TSP. What we did, the TSP for the egusi soup, we try to rehydrate them. Our findings shows that the threshold, that is twice of the volume. So if the threshold is cut, all the TSP used for the egusi soup, they are more than 2. So therefore, but the highest one is BSP, which is Wenger TSP from concentrate, labeled BSP. So how do we do the hydration? The ESP sample during hydration that the picture shows that we choose 100 grams of TSP plus 500 ml of water. Then we used standard time 10 minutes for all the samples. Yes, the TSP we use for sauce also, the rehydration was done. And then we could see that the threshold of 2, majority of the samples also is above the threshold of 2. That is, they can swell more than twice of their size. So, but the highest there, they are the MST, NST, OST, PST, KRST, and RST. These are all TSP from harvest innovation isolate texture soy chunks. Is only one ADM that competes with that. So we can clearly say that the TSP from harvest innovation isolate show a good swelling ratio than the TSP for the ADM. Now, what are the results from the sensory parameters of the texture soil egusi, the soil protein egusi soup? What the results shows that the aroma and taste, all other parameters, as I've mentioned, the color, they are not significantly different. It does not play a significant role. So what plays the 2 characteristics that play a significant role are aroma and taste. So the result of the aroma and taste is what we presented here. from the range of the rating, sensory rating 1 to 5. So we could say that when we have neither like or dislike, we can see that all the threshold there, neither like or dislike, all the TSP is above neither like or dislike. That is, they are in between liked and like very much. So this shows that the TSP incorporated into egusi soup will be acceptable by the consumers. But however, when we look at it critically, we can see that the DSP has the lowest of the sensory ratings, both the aroma, the taste, and the overall acceptability. So, and as well as the ISP. So all others, they have a good aroma, taste, and overall acceptability. When we look at the sensory parameters of TSP, the still source, when we look at the threshold of 2.5, which is neither like or dislike, we could conclude that all the TSP used for still source, they are all acceptable. The aroma and the taste, they are very, very, very good. So therefore, we could conclude that the TSP could be incorporated into the still source and still be acceptable. However, when we look at the result critically, we can still identify the poor one, the poor TSPs. One is IST and the MST. All these two are for ADM, texture vegetable protein. Now, in conclusion, we can conclude that TSP samples, they have excellent swelling power. All of them above 2 swelling ratio. And also we can say that the OST, RST are the most acceptable stew, that is if it's incorporated into the stew. And these TSPs, they are from Harvest Innovation Isolated Sorghums. Then we can also conclude that aroma and taste are key attributes for TSP, egusi soup, and sea sauce. So this is very key for food scientists and the nutritionists, that aroma and taste are the key attributes of TSP when it is incorporated into the sauces. Also, one of our conclusions is that ASP is the most acceptable egusi soup, which is from Wenger TSP concentrate. And then also we can say that acceptance of TSP inclusion is sauce or soup dependent. So that is very important for us to know that if we want to incorporate TSP into any sauce or soup, it depends on that type of soup or the sauce we want to make. That one will make us to know the type of TSP to use. TSP granules can be incorporated into sauces and acceptable. That's our conclusion. TSP soup and sauces could alleviate protein malnutrition in most developing countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alamu, for this very informative presentation about TSP and soil processing and incorporation or inclusion in local diets. Question for you: what is the digestibility of TSP? Did you assess it?
Thank you very much, the moderator. That is the work we are doing currently. We've not assessed it to test the either in vitro or in vivo digestibility. It's not yet done. But from the TSP, the work that's been done on TSP, we know that it has a very good digestibility. But we can test when it is incorporated into local dishes it needs to be tested. So we will work on that. So since we have identified those TSP that can be incorporated into specific dishes, then we can go on to further work on it, either in vitro or in vivo digestibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much. When thinking about the sensory trait that you tested for TSP or you looked at them, what are the key sensory traits that affect the acceptability of TSP inclusion in local diets?
Yeah, thank you very much for that good question. The key trait, sensory attributes of TSP that we identify, they are aroma and taste. The color is not significant, and the consistency. What we mean by consistency is when the TSP is incorporated into local dishes. Does it flow the way it's supposed to be when fish and the meat is being incorporated? So what is the two attributes that we found that are key are the aroma and taste.
Thank you. Did you compare, when looking at the cost saving between TSP and other protein products like meat, would consumer you think will be able or would consider switching or substituting the missing part of the meat into by TSP?
Yeah, thank you very much. The cost analysis, we've not done that, but we believe that the cost of TSP will be cheaper. You know, when we just look at the source, the soybean. In Nigeria, we produce a lot of soybean, and what we are expecting that the private sector can take up to produce TSP, and in order to use it to be as a meat substitute. But we believe that the cost is going to be lower than that of meat.
Thank you. One last question. In comparing the acceptability of TSP in your studies, what are the age group of consumers that you looked at them? Did you also consider younger generation, or the if you are targeting all population at all ages and stages, did you consider these segments in your testing?
Yes, exactly. What we have done now is the sensory evaluation. We deal with trained panelists, those that are experienced in egusi soup and stew. So after that, we want to move to consumer acceptability, where we can go out, then we can now have a segmentation of the consumers to test. That's a further test after the sensory evaluation to know whether the inclusion of TSP into local dishes will be acceptable or not.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're moving to our last speaker on the panel, Dr. Kuruba Krishna Saumi, an assistant professor, Sustainable Food System Engineering, Department of Biomedical, Biological, and Chemical Engineering, the Division of Food System Bioengineering within the University of Missouri, Columbia, and the USA. Dr. Krishna Saumi is a pillar in pursuit food sustainability, joint higher College of Engineering and College of Agriculture, Food and Natural Resources at the University of Missouri. Kuruba started her research program of Food Engineering and Sustainability Technologies. FEAST is a multidisciplinary group of scientists, engineering, and researchers applying sustainable food processes and engineering tools for value-added food processing and food fortification to address hidden hunger, that's micronutrient deficiency, and interconnected challenge of food and nutrition security. We will be hearing from Kuruba about the micronutrient fortification of soy products from high Oleic soybean, new process development potential. Kuruba, over to you.
Thank you for the introduction. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. And today's presentation we will be discussing about micronutrient fortification of soy products from high oleic soybean and food innovations. So the outline of my presentation, it's going to be like we will be talking about hidden hunger, micronutrient fortification of oils, and microencapsulation of vitamins. Then we'll be discussing about fortified foods using high oleic soybean and cultural context, culturally appropriate foods from an African context, and summary of all. So, as you see, soybean is an excellent source of proteins and micronutrients, and it is of low cost. If we want to move towards more sustainable diets, then we need to be thinking soybean as one solution, because it could address both problems of malnutrition and hidden hunger. So when I talk about hidden hunger, you might be thinking, so hidden hunger is due to micronutrient deficiencies like vitamins and minerals. Around 2 billion people on this planet are affected by iron and zinc deficiency. This is a big problem. And on the other hand, around 7 million children before they reach their 5th birthday die annually because of some consequence of malnutrition. So we see children are the future, but we leave around 7 million children because of malnutrition. This is a serious challenge that needs to be addressed. And when we talk about malnutrition, there is a double burden of malnutrition, which is much more complex. If you see this particular image, here, this is the complex pathway for micronutrient deficiency, right? And if you want to simplify this, could be divided into double burden of malnutrition as an umbrella. On one side, we have wasting and stunting. On the other side, we have overweight and obesity. And both of these malnutrition problems are connected by micronutrient deficiency, that is lack of vitamins and minerals. So this is a complex challenge, and it could be addressed using food. So when I started my research program, these were some of the research questions that we're asking. One hand, we have around 2 billion people affected by hidden hunger and malnutrition. On the other hand, we waste around 1.3 billion tons of edible food that goes as waste. So this is a big challenge as a human race we're facing. And we could learn from nature, because nature, there is nothing called waste. Everything flows in a beautiful cycle, and waste is a terminology that is created by humans. So if we can learn from nature and adapt systems, then we would not be considering this as waste, but we can shift our perspective to be thinking as raw materials. So we have 1.3 billion tons of raw materials. If we know the right processing methods to recover this and develop innovative food processing techniques, then we could convert this raw material to feed the people who are in need and address the malnutrition problems. So this is the philosophy behind my research program. And I know it's a complex challenge and there is no single solution to this particular problem, but everyone can contribute towards this big challenge of zero hunger. So these are the 3 areas that we contribute in. One is sustainable food engineering, that is upcycling of food waste and food loss to recover micronutrients, and then fortifying those foods to develop ready-to-eat therapeutic foods. So to address hidden hunger. And then once we develop that, we need to have delivery platforms, microencapsulation, nano-encapsulation platforms to effectively deliver the fortified food. So these are the 3 areas of research, and my research team is called the Food Engineering and Sustainable Technologies Group. So, and you can see that all these things are connected with zero hunger. That is UN Sustainable Development Goal number 2. And What is very unique about SDG2 is that, like SDGs, is that the partnership for the goals. As we said, like, these are complex challenges. That's why I have a multidisciplinary team of engineers, scientists, and researchers working together to solve this problem. So partnership of the goals is very important. And now I'm going to share 2 examples about how fortification of oils with micronutrients could be a solution. So when we talk about vitamins, there are 2 types of vitamins, the fat-soluble vitamins and the water-soluble vitamins. So in the first example, we will be talking about fat-soluble vitamins. In the second example, we will be discussing about water-soluble vitamins. So now we've identified the micronutrient. Now we need to identify the food vehicle. Right? In our case, we will be using high oleic soybean oil as a food vehicle to deliver the micronutrients. Why? Because it has an improved nutritional profile, and then it has high oleic acid content, that is 72 to 75% of oleic acid. That is very significant because it can improve the temperature, like high temperature tolerance during processing and cooking. And then it is low in saturated fatty acids. It does not have any trans fats, and it is more sustainably produced. And it can have a longer frying life. So that's what makes non-GMO high oleic soybean variety an excellent vehicle for delivering micronutrients. So this particular samples we get from Dr. Kristen Ballou. She's an USDA ARS scientist who has developed this variety. So we've identified the micronutrient, the food vehicle. So what is the rationale for fortifying oils with vitamins? One, oil is a good solvent for fat-soluble vitamin. And in this, we'll be discussing about vitamin A. And it also, the biological function of it, it helps to deliver and absorb food like fat-soluble vitamins. And then vitamin A deficiency is a very big problem. Around 250 million children worldwide are affected by vitamin A deficiency. And so a natural solution will be fortifying oils with vitamin A, because this could prevent childhood blindness and also improve the health and well-being of children and women. For example, this particular figure here shows the percentage of children from 6 to 59 months who received vitamin A supplement in 2018. And you can see 72% are in Africa and like 59% in India, South Asia. So there is a big need in the continent. And so that's the stage why we need to fortify with vitamin A. Now, why vegetable oil will become a good vehicle for food fortification? There are a few points that I want to discuss. One, it is technically feasible, because when we refine oil, it is in a centralized situation, centralized space, right? So it will be easy to fortify the oil with vitamins, because fat-soluble vitamins plus oil forms a homogeneous mixture, homogeneous solution. So there is no phase transfer happening. And also, like simple equipment, simple mixing and agitators can be used, which are already existing in the infrastructure, that in the processing plant. So you don't have to invest on additional equipment for fortification of oils. Another thing is consumption of oils at regular intervals. We all consume oil every day at regular intervals. So it'll be easy to fortify. So you get your oil, you get your micronutrients on a daily basis. In Africa, around 10 to 20 grams per capita per day of oil is consumed. In Asia, around 70 to 90 grams per capita per day of oil is consumed because there's a lot of frying involved. So these two factors. Another factor is the low incremental cost, because you don't have to invest in the infrastructure. You could use already existing infrastructure. And so it will be a low incremental cost, like 0.1% to 0.3% of the retail price. And also fortification of oil is cost effective. because you could add the fat soluble vitamins in a concentrated and more stable form. So that's what makes vegetable oil a good vehicle for food fortification. So let's see the process here. We have pre-mixing tanks where we could mix the vitamins and with the oil, and then a dosing pump is fixed, so you could use the pre-mixed oil, and then that it will be mixed with the incoming refined oil through a flow meter that monitors it, and I have a static mixer in between, so it mixes the pre-mix and the oil to form a homogeneous solution, and then that could be stored in storage tanks. And here, after it's been stored, it could be filled and sent for packaging. Few things that we need to be considering when we are doing this fortification step is make sure that the oil is degassed. The filling, the packaging material used for fortified oils needs to be carefully selected because it could be photosensitive, and also temperatures can be optimized. So these are some of the things that could be adapted for fortification of edible oils in a continuous processing line. And so, we saw the need in Africa and a potential. So there is a lot of potential for agro-food processors in sub-Saharan Africa to incorporate fortification of oil with vitamins to reach the nutritional requirements of the population. So that will give you an overview for the fat-soluble vitamin. Now let's go to the water-soluble vitamins. And for water-soluble vitamins, I want to talk about microencapsulation of vitamins. There are different techniques to use for microencapsulation, and today I'll be discussing about one, that is spray drying. So this is a schematic diagram for spray drying. This is non-GMO high oleic soy milk, and it could be fortified with vitamin B12, folic acid, and any B vitamins, water-soluble vitamin. And then, and also fat solubles can also be incorporated. So that forms a feed. Then we have an aspirator that atomizes and a gas that goes into the drying chamber. Then it passes through a cyclone separator and collecting chamber. So after the spray drying is done, you will get a fine powder. So the baby formula, the complementary food, any powders could be developed using this technology. And when we are developing any formulation, very important to optimize the processing parameters. That will lead to good product at the end. So we do a lot of response surface methodology optimization and selecting the best combinations using physical property analysis for our products. So for giving an overview of how this happens, first you have the feed, like the material that you want to spray dry and encapsulate. Then it goes into a peristaltic pump here. Then here is the atomizer. So this is the atomizer that's shown in an enlarged image. This happens to be here. And then what is the function of this atomizer? It atomizes particles to around 150 micron to 300 microns in size. So you have these very fine particles that has vitamins and a matrix. And then we have a co-current of hot air that flows into this drying chamber. So there is going to be a convective heat transfer happening in this region. So the particles, the droplets are going to come down and the air is going to dry in this region. And then it is pushed here to the cyclone separator. The cyclone separator uses high velocity centrifugal force to separate the particles, the dried particles, and the dry particles will be collected in the collection chamber. So this is kind of an overview of the processing steps. So when we're doing these operations, there are few things that are very critical we need to be taking into account. One is the feed flow rate and the inlet temperature of the drying chamber. Then the gas flow rate, what temperature the gas is pouring. Then the outlet temperature of the dry material, the viscosity of the fluid, and the compressed air pressure, and the thermal efficiency. So these are some of the processing parameters that needs to be optimized in order to get a good encapsulation efficiency. So we don't like increase the temperature, so the vitamins efficiency goes down. So we need to have a balance between all these parameters to get a final product that is encapsulated. So here are some of the products that we have. Like, this is spray-dried soy milk powder, and most of the products we incorporate vitamins with fortification, without fortification for comparison. And this is non-GMO high-oleic soybean powder, and this is the soybean meal that is being spray-dried. So in this image, you can see the color, like, from a dark yellow color, it has moved to more white colors. The L value, we do measure the colorimetric value, LAD values. So there is an increase in the L value in all the spray-dried powders. And also, soybean is associated with the beanie flavor. But in our experience, the high oleic soy milk, after spray drying, there is a reduction. The flavor profile has been pretty good. So that is something interesting. So currently we have some ongoing projects thanks to Missouri Soybean Council, who has funded us this work. So we are optimizing food process engineering parameters to fortify high soy oleic. Soy oleic is the trade name for high oleic soybean, and with vitamin B12. So we are developing soy oleic milk, yogurt, tofu, and extruded okra products. So if you're interested, I will be happy to discuss more on this. So now moving to our third portion, that is, how do we develop innovations? And those innovations needs to be sustainable. So I would like to share about Dr. Fu Hongxue. I want to introduce, he is an amazing food engineer, and he is a professor emeritus at University of Missouri. And why I'm bringing Dr. Fu Hongxue is because he made a very, very important innovation that has changed the way we think about plant-based meats. So his innovation was, we take raw materials like soy protein isolates and pea proteins and materials that goes as waste, and using extrusion, like, you mix it in a proper ratio, then it goes into the feeding zone, mixing, kneading, then you have a shearing force that pushes the materials. So you could align the fibers from a plant-based source to look like meat. And we all know about Beyond Meat. Actually, this particular innovation was licensed from University of Missouri to Beyond Meat, and now we are Beyond Meat has expanded globally, and they are in supermarkets. Even Pizza Hut is carrying Beyond Meat pizzas. So it all started in a research lab, and you can see the power of innovation. You could start from a small scale research and reach millions of people. So that is the power of food innovation. And now when we talk about food innovation, something else we need to be very thinking is also, are our innovations culturally appropriate? As we know, soybean has been used for thousands of years in Asia. Like there are so many different food products, from soy sauce to sprouts, tofu, milk, and natto, and so many different food products from an Asian context, right? Now, if we go to the North American context, like it's mostly used, 80% of the meal is used for animal feed and 20% is used for oil. And of the 80%, 97% goes for animal feed and only 3% goes for food products, right? And here in the oil, 68% goes for food, then the rest 25% for biodiesel and 7% for industrial applications. So when we see this, there is a lot of room to grow here as well, because we could improve more healthy alternatives using soybean. And the high oleic soybean, like, soy milk, soy butter, and you can see some soy flour in the market. And now let's go to Africa. So Africa, like, how do we design culturally appropriate products for Africa? Because it's quite diverse and there is a lot of resources available. These are some of the places where the pilot scale of soybean trials are happening. And this is based on my experience, and I would like to share. So I had the opportunity to visit Nairobi, Kenya, and this is me interacting with the Maasai community. And overall, my experience during my stay there, I learned a lot. One, about the diversity, the culturally diverse, and so much opportunities to learn about new cultures. And something that connects is food, because I'm intrigued by the food and the compassion and the empathy of people to share. So that made me think, okay, how do we innovate in this setting? So my question is, what if we develop culturally appropriate food, fortified foods? We had previous speakers talk about it. That was excellent. And along the same lines, I want to say, because if we could develop culturally appropriate foods that are fortified, then it could improve the nutritional status of the people. Imagine, like, a ready-to-eat fortified jollof rice with folic acid, vitamin B12, iron that a pregnant mother or adolescent girl consumes, so it could improve their, reduce them from anemia problems, right? What if we fortify ugali, like, this could jollof rice in Ghana and Nigeria, ugali in Kenya, that a child who goes to school consumes, and that will not only improve the physical development, but also the cognitive development for a school-going kid. And what I see is, if we think about innovation, think in long-term aspects. If a child is nourished to perform well in school, then there's going to be a lot of opportunities, like from employment perspective, or he or she could start his own entrepreneur and break that cycle of poverty. And that cycle is also connected with the cycle of malnutrition, the cyclic cycle of malnutrition. So I leave this question open here because there is a lot of room for innovation to happen in this space. So on that note, I would like to summarize what we discussed during this talk. Provide an overview of how hidden hunger, food fortification could be connected with SDGs, because all these things are connected. And we discussed about micronutrient fortification of oils and microencapsulation of vitamins to develop new fortified foods. And at last, we touched about how food innovations can develop culturally appropriate fortified foods. So that's the summary. And these are some of my reference. And I would like to thank my students who worked on this soybean project, my collaborators, and Missouri Soybean Council for funding this project. And also I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to share my perspective. It was an excellent platform. Thank you so much. And before I leave, I would like to leave you with this quote, because we may be the first generation to end poverty. And also we may be the first generation to have impacts, to change, to have action towards climate change, because we just have one home that we call this beautiful planet Earth. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Kruba, for this very informative presentation and showing the benefit and highlighting the value added from the high oleic acid soybean varieties. Just a quick question: what is the difference between the oleic acid content between regular soybean varieties and the high oleic acid soybean varieties in terms of oleic acid content in particular?
So a regular soybean around 20 to 30%, but in high oleic, it's around 70 to 75%. So it's significantly high. And that's what makes it increase, like withstand high temperatures during processing.
And you mentioned to withstand high temperature. What is the impact of fortificant if you add vitamin A or water-soluble vitamins under this high temperatures, which is used for cooking or frying foods?
So that's an excellent question. So the quality of the fortifying agent that we're adding, like for example, vitamin A, depends upon the quality of the oil that is in. So if we could improve the quality of the oil, then that will enhance the stability of the vitamins that we are adding in the fortification process. And that's why I see this as a good vehicle to carry the vitamins.
Thank you. Another question, in addition to micronutrient to oils done in powder mixture or oils one, is it when you add the micronutrient to oils, are you adding it as powder or as oils?
This is oils, because the premix is mostly oils. And for the other micronutrients, we have to encapsulate them, so it could be incorporated other food ingredients.
Thank you. And we'll just tell the audience we will be back on a panel discussion in a few minutes with all the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you again. And now we have our 4 speakers for this panel discussion. And I would like to remind our audience that if you have any question for the panel, for any of the speakers, or a mix between speakers, please feel free to put it in the chat box and we will ask it on your behalf. For our panelists, of course, I would like also to remind you that, or to ask you, if you have any question or comment to your colleague, please feel free to discuss it at this point. Back to Kiruba, you mentioned the non-GMO high oleic acid, and just as a question for clarification, could you remind us what is the difference between the non-GMO high oleic acid and the 94% of soybean that is GMO produced in the US?
So this is a new variety that is being naturally bred using conventional techniques, and the patent lies between University of Missouri and USDA. 2 scientists, they've joined together to develop this new variety of high oleic soybean, and it's in research stage. So we get to try these materials to see if we could use them for processing. So if you need more information, it is Dr. Kristen Guru, who has developed the variety. So she might have more insights in addressing that question.
Thank you so much. And I know Dr. Kristen very well. For all, a question for all the panel members or the speakers, should universal fortification include soy flour? This is a question from the audience.
The question again?
Should universal fortification programs include soy flour?
Do you want me to go ahead to?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you for that excellent question. I would say yes, it can be a vehicle for the fortificants. So it depends on the diet and the usage of the soy flour in respective countries. So that one will determine. For example, iodine is being put in salt because we think that's the best vehicle. So the fortificant we can determine soy flour to be a vehicle. So it can be used as a vehicle. That's my opinion. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to comment on this question?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think it should depend on how you're going to use it for. For example, if you're going to use it for bread, you're doing composite bread, and you add the fortificants before you bake, you denature and destroy most of them. It depends on how you're going to use it for. So I think principally it should be driven by the application of the soy flour and not a general one like we have for the others, like the salt. Yeah.
I would like to add what following Dr. Francis' comment. Yes, it needs to be application oriented. What is the end product and how we could design it to that need? So that's how we need to approach that problem.
Thank you. Another question from the audience related to high oleic acid soybeans. Are these available in Africa or grown in Africa? And the second question, how does oleic acid soybean differ from high oleic palm oil?
Okay, so the first thing is I do not know about if it's available in Africa to grow. My apologies for that, because I'm more the processing side of it. So I get my raw materials. So the second question is how it is different from high oleic. The combination, the chemical constituent is going to be the same. It's going to be different raw material, like now it could be palm oil, it could be sunflower oil, it could be canola oil, which has high oleic content. Here in this case, we're talking about high oleic soybean oil. So significantly, the chemical composition is going to be the same, but the raw material, the source might be different.
Thank you. One last question. How do you see the role of NARS, or National Agriculture Research Programs, in promoting this new product, soybean, that are rich in protein, bioavailable protein, and or fortificants or oil fortificant like high oleic acid soy protein? Anyone would like?
Can you repeat the question? I didn't.
How do you see the role of NARS, or National Agriculture Organization, in Africa in promoting this highly nutrient soy-based protein product, or high oleic acid soy protein?
NARO, as a research and development organization, works with actors right from the processors to the farming communities. And then therefore the role of NARO in promotion of such product would be being central and bringing together all actors that are involved in both from production to supply chains and consumption. Then NARO would be would play a role of linking all the actors, but also in promoting and working with whichever companies or individuals are involved in production, and then linking to the supply chains and the consumption and markets.
Thank you. I don't see any more questions coming from the audience for the panel discussion. I would like to give the opportunity for our speakers for a closing remark. Each one can have 30 seconds, and you can go in the order that you start giving your talk. One last question for IITA before we go to closing remark. Question came for IITA: is the TSP material something ready in the market or for the market?
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that question. It's not ready, but what we did is we tried to get those materials from University of Illinois through SIL, and then we try to test them whether they are going to be acceptable before we can roll out into the market. You know, I've mentioned before that consumer acceptability needs to be done, and then we need to do some in vitro and in vivo digestibility tests also as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And just a follow-up question on that, what would be needed in terms of infrastructure, private sector role in order to make this TSP really available in the market, in African market?
Yeah, thank you very much. The private sectors are ready, and actually IITA is one of the soybean producer in terms of breeding. We're producing different varieties. So we have a group of soybean farmers and group of private sectors. So the value chain, they are ready to pick the TSP. They are ready. So the market is there. What is key is the acceptance, if it is going to be acceptable. So once the IITA has established that it's going to be acceptable, it can be rolled into the market. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That highlights the importance of this research and similar work that's happening right now on soybean in Africa in order to make it available not only for feed, but also as a source for rich nutrient, especially protein and some micronutrient, especially when you fortify it for human consumption to help alleviate micronutrient, protein malnutrition, as well as micronutrient deficiencies when properly fortified. I would like to give the opportunity to our panel speakers for closing remarks. Each one have 30 seconds. Go. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I would like to basically thank the conveners of this symposium for giving me an opportunity to participate in this symposium. I want to thank the session coordinators, session management, and Ame, and you've done a great job in coordinating us and testing and making sure that everything is okay. I also like to thank fellow presenters. I have learned a lot from you, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you on soybeans, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Kephas.
Thank you, Ahmed. I think it's a great team you guys organized. I think Phil has done well putting this webinar together. So in concluding, I will still say the Okara has huge potential in the African context. And we should consider how we can use it as an essential ingredient to improve our protein intake. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. You've done a good, excellent job. I want to thank the audience first, and then thank you for listening to us and to listen to this the story that we have to share with the audience. And also, I want to thank the organizers for the opportunity given to us to participate in this symposium, as well as also to share our knowledge and our research findings with the audience, and also to show to showcase what we can do to improve the level of the malnutrition in Africa. So what I want to just to conclude finally is the market is there for TSP to improve the protein malnutrition and protein energy malnutrition, especially in West Africa, in support with what Dr. Francis is doing. Yeah, so in Nigeria also we use okara, we make it to flour. With the flours is now being used as a condiment, you see, adding to the soup and the sauce, which is also is another vehicle which you can promote also in Ghana. So thank you very much, everyone. So stay blessed.
So first, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity, and moderator, like Hamad, you did a great job coordinating this whole thing, and my students, my collaborators, and the whole team that came together to work on the soybean project. My closing remarks is, like, COVID has exposed the vulnerabilities of our food system, and if we have to, transform our food systems, it's high time we think about more circular systems and more sustainable systems toward a green future. And soybean can play a very important role in addressing malnutrition problems and hidden hunger challenges, and become an excellent vehicle to address the needs of the vulnerable people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And again, thanks for the American Oil Chemical Society and for the Soybean Innovation Lab for organizing this event. And to learn more about the Soybean Innovation Lab, please visit their website, soybeaninnovationlab.org. And to learn more about Feed the Future initiative, please visit feedthefuture.gov. Thank you again, and we appreciate your contribution and attention to this session. Have a good day.